Yo, what up guys? Welcome back to Sneaker Stories. As always, I'm your host Chris Jack. Today, checking out a pretty unique shoe right here from Nike by You. This particular design was done by a friend of mine, Zane, who sent them here to have a look at today, so shout out to you. But the collaboration itself is between Japanese graphic design artist MACCIU and Nike, of course. So without further ado, let's check them out. Alright, so this particular pair seemingly appeared out of nowhere on the Nike by You website. I did try to make a pair of these myself, but I couldn't check them out in time for some reason due to some technical difficulty Nike was experiencing that day. However, as mentioned, Zane managed to make a pair of these, which I'm incredibly grateful for because I get to check them out here for you guys right here at Sneaker Stories. But the predecessor to this particular pair was the N354, which is Nike's sort of innovative prototyping outlet, which basically develops a whole bunch of different shoes based off the current technologies that they're using in other shoes. And that most notably is the Zoom puck over here, which has been used in Nike's Alphafly Next Percent, their elitist of elite running shoes, which Eliud Kipchoge used to break the 2-hour marathon record. And they're basically creating lifestyle versions or alternative versions of that. Now, the N354 line had two different models, one of which I've had, the black one here in the room. I unfortunately didn't have enough time to review it before release, and it was a shoe that just didn't really gel with me too well on foot, mostly just because of that heel tab. It's got this really rough, hard, rubberized section that digs into the back of your ankle, so I didn't actually end up holding on to them before reviewing them. However, seemingly in the background and kind of out of nowhere, these sort of just appeared on the Nike by You site, and this is a completely reimagined version of that, done obviously in collaboration with MACCIU, who's a Japanese graphic design artist who has worked with Nike in the past on some of the Air Max Day graphics and visuals that they've done, I think around 2 years ago. But now with this particular Zoom type, it's her first sort of actual sneaker collaboration. Now, as this was a Nike by You, there were a whole bunch of different color options that you could create yourself. You could basically change up the graphics, change up the upper color, the different stitch elements over here, the color in the midsole, and obviously the outsole and Zoom puck present in that section. Now, this particular colorway that Zane made is something very similar to what I had designed. I absolutely love how these colors work together. But let me get into the details of the shoe, and I'll start with the outsole over here. You've got these two traction sections over here, which are done in that turquoisey teal color. You do have the Nike swoosh, which has also been embossed in the bottom. Now, flipping into the midsole, this is an incredibly cool part of the shoe and something I really liked on those N354 pairs that really caught my attention. It's kind of similar to what you get on the Sacai LDB waffles, which, as we know, are incredibly popular the world over. So you've got this sort of double stack tooling over here. Dividing that, you do have this hit of what's kind of like a rubberized plastic almost, just adding some sort of support in there, and that's done in a heel color. That obviously has some kind of performance attribute to it as well, kind of just pushing your foot towards the front of the shoe. So just kind of positioning your foot forward, just so you basically strike over here where that zoom unit is and not necessarily on the heel of the shoe. And then just while we're at the midsole, you do have some detailing over here with the swoosh, which has been kind of debossed or molded into that top section. And then just on the medial side, you've got some other lettering here. This basically just stands for left and medial side. And then on the right hand shoe, I would imagine, yeah, it says R medial as well. Now, moving into the upper, this is where things get absolutely crazy with this pair. It's kind of like, the proportions are just insane. It's a massive shoe. It kind of reminds me of like Balenciaga Triple S5s. They're just so big on foot that they're cool in some weird way. But most notably, you do have this tongue section, which is a hell of a lot higher than the rest of the shoe. You know, like if you were to basically fold that in, you would have kind of like a normal looking silhouette of some sort, but this is a really standout feature. So it comes right up your shin on front, but the material itself is this double pleated kind of quilt material. I mean, it's literally like having a duvet on your foot. But to maybe explain that further, the outer layer here is obviously done in this gray color. You do have a whole bunch of these colored stitch patterns going over there, just adding a bit of detail to the upper of the shoe. The swoosh here is done in this red stitch, and then set just behind that, if you can see, it's kind of a mesh material there, and that basically just breaks up the layering on this pair. The middle of the shoe, which forms part of the outer layer, I know it's really confusing, is a booty sort of sock-like construction. It's not necessarily like a neoprene that you would normally have in some kind of booty construction, but it's very similar, but more of the mesh material there. Something which I think is just really, really comfortable, because it's literally like you're just hugging your foot with a duvet or a blanket or something like that. Now, on the front of the shoe, you do have this overlay strip. Now, this wasn't optional. You didn't actually have to have any sort of lettering or graphics done here. These, as far as I understand, are just Japanese lettering graphics. This particular one, white with the black on it as well, and then you've got the hits of red stitching towards the top section over here on the tongue, and then set just behind that you do have, it's quite difficult to show you, but MACCIU's logo with a Nike swoosh there done in that teal. From a lacing perspective, I have seen guys wear this either with or without laces. You could basically view it on the Nike website with or without, and both of these options look pretty good. I don't really know how much functionality you're getting out of the laces on here. It's a completely weird sort of lacing system with only 4 eyelets on it, so you know, you're not getting like a lot of sort of tension points all the way up your top of your foot, but yeah, more kind of just a design detail in my opinion. And then just to show you inside, on the reverse side of the tongue, you do have the sort of equality message of choice equals possibility. This, as far as I understand, is a tree of choice, which has basically just been represented graphically over there. Now, there was a video created, which unfortunately I haven't been able to find. Maybe you guys can find it as well, which is about a 1-minute video that MACCIU created, which basically just explains the inspiration of equality, as far as I understand, which was the design inspiration behind the graphics on this pair. Either way, it looks absolutely awesome on this. I really like the details that they've got going on here. And just to show you, last but not least, the insole of the shoe. This is just a very, very standard insole, basically with the collaborating partners, MACCIU and the Nike swoosh over there. And then just above that, you've got these Japanese graphics as well. Now, one thing I have noticed just putting this insole back in, it's pretty difficult to kind of squeeze it in there. And that's because of this double thick layer upper that you've got on the pair. It's kind of like it's just squashed in there a bit. So these are kind of just like, they're not really perfect from a like functional point of view. And another thing I have noticed just with putting these on briefly is that there's no heel support or structure here in the back section of the shoe, so you're not really getting too much stability with these on foot. One other thing, you can kind of just push that down. I don't know if like maybe you want to wear it as a slipper or something like that, but that's generally the vibe I get with these. It's kind of like, this is a mad comfort shoe, you know, it's something maybe you just wear around the house or something, but it's not a pair I would immediately grab to be wearing a full day and or anything like that. Not saying that technology or anything's not great, it's just the sort of upper construction over here is more of a like aesthetic thing than a functional thing for me. Now, if you do want to get a pair of these, it was a very limited run, so they have sold out quite a long time ago. I mean, pretty much within a day of them being up online. So you will have to look to the resale market perhaps to try and get a specific colorway that someone else has made. Now, from a sizing perspective, Nike did recommend taking a half size up with this particular pair, as they are quite narrow due to the double layering of the upper. However, I still feel like on foot they are just too loose to actually wear for me personally. So maybe I would have even just considered taking a true to size as well, but I guess it's probably best to go with Nike's recommendation of a half size up on these if you do want to look at getting a pair. And last but not least, I just want to show you the box over here. This is the Nike By You box, which all their By You products come in. The really cool thing about this is they completely personalize it with your name. So this says Nike by Zane, who's the owner of the shoe, of course, with a picture of the shoe and obviously the size that you chose. Then just inside, you've got that custom Nike By You wax paper on there, but otherwise it's just a plain white box with the Nike By You branding on. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Nike By You and MACCIU's collaboration on the Zoom types over here. If you guys have any further questions, please drop them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer you as soon as possible. Otherwise, if you haven't already, please give the video a thumbs up for me. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe right here for more content like this down the line. But that's it from me. I'll catch you on the next one.